Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto-Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's April. It's the 3rd of April. It's 2017. It's Monday. Siege, you know what that means, right? You know what Monday, April 3rd is?
The real opening day?
The real opening day of baseball. Yeah, I know you're excited, right? Like this is... And I think I'm a little bit more of a baseball guy than you, so I know you love baseball, but this is the day for me, my friend.
I mean, this is the day where you make sure you have no Roto-Grinder shows. Check. You make sure you can just sit there and watch baseball on multiple screens all day. Check. You make sure your MLB at bat purchase is all set. Check. And you sit down. You make sure your fridge is stocked full of beer. You pop over the windows when the weather's good, and you watch baseball.
When's the last time on opening day, the night before, you slept? I know I'm not getting any sleep tonight personally. It's lineup time, right? When we get done with the podcast, I've done research now for about 2 or 3 days on the slate. I've been writing articles. I've been doing all kinds of stuff. We got the podcast, and then it's lineup time.
I might grab a couple-hour nap if I get lucky.
That sounds for you. You know where I'm going to take my nap? Katie will get home around like 10:30 in the morning. I have to take Madison to school around 8. I'm going to power nap 8:30 to 10:30. When Katie gets home, I'll just tell her to wake me up.
See, that's a 2-hour nap. That's what I just said.
Perfect. I didn't even think about that until just now. That's going to happen for sure. So opening day is here. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's tournaments all across the industry. Before we get into that, I just want to talk about, if you guys haven't checked out the new lineup builder here at Roto-Grinders, finally got to play with it. And it's pretty awesome. If you click rules, you can kind of go through and players per team, player groups, hitter stacks, plus one to the dev team here at Roto-Grinders.
Absolutely, and you've known about this feature for hours now.
Hours, and realistically, like 3 minutes.
Stevie was like, "Where did it go?" And I'm like, "Stevie, it's right here, and it's better."
I was pissed. I was like, "Where did my stacks go? How am I supposed to do it?" No, that's how it went down. But
it's how it went down, and then I'm like, "Stevie, it's right here, and it's like 5 times better." Oh,
right? Yeah. Well, shit happens. Okay. It
never
just happens.
Never doubt the dev team. Never doubt the dev team.
Never doubt it. So, all right, we're doing the first time ever. We're doing the Roto-Grinders Morning Grind live with you guys. Usually we do this and we have our lights off. We are just kind of laid back and doing the pod. But today, because of opening day tomorrow, and we want everybody to be able to research, me and CJ talked. We wanted it to, have this information as soon as possible. So instead of waiting when I get done editing it and all that good stuff, you guys are live with us. If you want to follow along with the show, just use hashtag RGMG. If we don't answer the question on the show, we will answer the question at the end. This is the first time we've done baseball in 6 months, so if it drags out a little bit, I apologize already. That's probably going to happen, but we're going to do the best we can. We're going to get started here with Washington facing Miami. This game's in Washington. We have a 7.5 total here. Strasburg a 2-11 favorite, and the weather is looking pretty darn good here, except for the wind blowing out to left center at about 12 miles per hour. Let's start with the pitchers here. We got Strasburg versus Volquez. Strasburg in a day game?
I think you can fade if you want. I think there's enough underlying factors for me that I'm willing to fade, mostly because I think there's some guys cheaper I like more, but I think Strasburg's going to be very chalky too. I think people like Kershaw is awesome to try to pay up there, but we'll talk about all the reasons why I don't think you necessarily need to. And Strasburg, I feel like it's going to be like everyone's compromised guy. Like, I can't get to Kershaw, so let me play Strasburg.
The other thing you want to know, obviously Strasburg, massive strikeout rate, it's there. We're not going to sit here and say that it's not there from last year. But if you look at the Marlins starting lineup, projected starting lineup, obviously only 2 guys against right-handed pitching last season, Derek Dietrich and Stanton, had a strikeout rate over 20%. So while Strasburg could go out and put up a 10 strikeout game, it's probably not as likely here as what the ownership percentage is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, D. Gordon only whiffed 5% of the time against fastballs in the 93 to 96 mile an hour range, which is what Strasburg throws. That's like insanely, insanely low for a whiff rate. And Yelich isn't much worse at 10%. So, like, that's the top of their lineup. That's the top of their best hitters. They start getting balls in play. They start running. It's just not as great a matchup as maybe it would appear on paper.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a couple pitchers, obviously Kershaw, but we're going to talk about a couple pitchers that I like more here. And then looking at the other side of this game, these hitters are going to be extremely popular. It's all we've heard already. We've heard Harper. We've heard Trey Turner. What's your stance here on Volquez?
I can't imagine in a world in which I'm using Volquez. I'll be rooting for him, though, because I'll be underweight on Washington, I imagine, on this slate. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and just completely leverage this. I just don't know if he's good enough to be a guy that I'm going to full leverage play with.
All right, let's talk bats here. We're going to start with Miami. Is there anything that you would do here against Strasburg, or are you just kind of hoping they do enough to beat him?
You could stack it 1 through 4. You get the 2.1K catcher in there in Real Muto. You go Gordon, Yelich, Real Muto, and Stanton. We talked about Gordon and Yelich. They don't whiff against fastballs. They go pretty well against his profile. Strasburg also likes to throw a ton of sliders and decent success there against the sliders for D. Gordon. So, for me, I think I'm okay with that stack in a $3 GPP. But other than that, I probably wouldn't touch it.
Stanton's hit Strasburg well as too, 14 for 38.
The BVP is there, but I'm looking at when I look at the stats, it just doesn't match. Maybe he sees the ball well off his hand because, he's a guy that he had a 49% whiff rate against sliders last year and a 32% whiff rate against fast fastballs. And you kind of just go, what the?
Yeah, I agree. We talk about it all the time. Sometimes BVP makes perfect sense. Sometimes it is just maybe feel. Looking at the Washington side of things here, one guy that I really like in this matchup is not Harper. It's Daniel Murphy. I think he's underpriced on FanDuel. I know he's the highest priced second baseman, but I still think he's underpriced at $3,500. This guy, he's coming off of a great season. And when we look at Volquez, only a 16% strikeout rate against lefties last season, gave up a lot of hard contact. This seems like a really, really good spot for Murphy.
You really want to be rostering a one-off in a game with the most popular stack of the day?
Yes.
I don't know. This goes against everything I do. I just don't attack one-offs from popular stacks. I'm either going to stack it or I'm just going to leave it alone.
And I think you can obviously stack it. It's going to be super popular, but if it hits, hey, might as well have a piece of it as well.
I would much rather stack it Murphy down and fade Turner and take Eaton, that no one in their right mind is going to want to do, and go 2 through 5 or 2 through 6. You kind of differentiate yourself that way.
You can also not play Harper.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. Nah.
Harper's opening day stats, by the way, insane. Insane. Right? There's just no other way to put it. Harper on opening day, he's nutty.
A freak.
He's nutty. All right, let's move on. We'll start with the pitchers in this game as well. We're going to go to Atlanta at New York. One of the lowest totals on the slate at 6.5 here. Syndergaard versus Julio Teheran. Looking at the visiting team first, what's your thoughts here on Teheran?
It's an interesting GPP spot. He's got talent. He's underpriced. On a lot of slates, he'd probably be in the high 8s, low 9s. On the opening day slate where you're getting all aces, he's priced at 7.9. So you're kind of getting a little bit of a discount based on his talent. I don't mind this spot in tournaments. It's a low total. The Mets are still only projected for 3.7 runs, which is kind of one of the lower ones on the slate. I don't mind throwing him out there in some tournament teams.
I don't hate it either. Looking up and down in the Mets lineup, there's not really much that's going to scare you outside of Cespedes. Curtis Granderson, always one of those guys that can have that 2 home run game. Jay Bruce at the bottom. It's just, I don't know here. What's really scaring you that you can't take a shot on Teheran, who, in this lineup could actually rack up some strikeouts?
I have no idea.
And then looking at the other side, man, Syndergaard's going to be popular here. This is not the same Braves team as last year. We saw it down the stretch where this team kind of turned it up with these young guys. Swanson, one of the highest top prospects. Like, what are you doing here with Syndergaard?
Not touching him.
All right.
I'm just not. So I don't like when you roster an ace, right? You're thinking about like 100, 110 pitches. Like, what ace is gonna like maybe they go 100, but you're not getting 110 pitches on opening day. Even Kershaw last year threw like 93. So if I'm not getting those extra pitches, which is part of the reasons I'm paying up, like, why am I paying up?
And you definitely want those extra pitches from Syndergaard because he's a strikeout guy, so he's going to try to throw those extra couple pitches to get the strikeouts.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, it just I personally don't think it's a spot I would like to go on the slate. I think there's a lot of talent in that kind of next group for me, but I understand it if you want to attack Syndergaard. He could go out there and throw 7 shutout innings, and you will have to have him to win. That's totally possible.
Yeah. The only spot that I might play him is DraftKings, where the strikeout is a little bit heavier. That might be the only spot.
Yeah, I just can't imagine playing Noah on this slate, but it's just how my GPP mind works, I guess. I just don't. I feel like if this were in June, it's a different story. I think I'd be much more willing to roster him at 11-1.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. Like the weather in this game, we're looking at upper 50s. Upper 50s in this time of the year is not the worst weather, but it's definitely not the best weather on the slate for pitchers or hitters.
Yeah, wind blowing out too there in Citi Field. So I think it's a perfectly fine spot. It's just not a spot that I'm like rushing to roster.
All right. The bats in this game, there's really not much standing out to me on either side. I don't even see a lot of one-offs on the Atlanta side, do you?
No, I think the only one-off I see in this game is Neil Walker on the Mets at 2.6.
Oh, yeah, that's super cheap. I didn't realize he was that cheap. I could get behind that.
Yeah, that's on FanDuel. I'm not sure what he is over there on DraftKings. Let's see.
He's 3.6 on DK. I think that's a little too much.
Yeah, that's a little too much, but 2.6 on FanDuel I think is definitely a price I would play on it.
All right, moving on. Hey-oh, Red Sox baseball. Pittsburgh heading to Fenway. Cy Young winner, Rick Porcello against Garrett Cole. Don't worry, guys. We're not biased. David Ortiz is retired, so I won't recommend Poppy. I won't recommend Poppy every day. Now you guys are just going to have to listen to me recommend Super Nintendo every day, Benedetti. Every day. You guys just get ready for it. Every day I'm going to recommend this guy. But, all right, let's talk about this game. We'll start with Pittsburgh's pitcher, Garrett Cole. Really struggled last season with left-handed bats. 51 innings against lefties, 35% hard contact rate, 371 WOBA. Gave up a lot of fly balls, did not give up a lot of home runs. I think that definitely plays to the ballpark in PNC more than anything. What's your thoughts here on Garrett Cole?
Well, the good news is this game's at Fenway.
Good news.
So that's good news. I'm not touching Garrett Cole in this spot. Like the Red Sox have the highest projected run total on the slate. It's a hitter's ballpark. With the DH, there's just too much damage to be rostering Garrett Cole, who's shown inconsistent bouts lately in his career. So I can't imagine going Garrett Cole. Rick Porcello is the one that I think you could consider.
All right, let's talk Porcello. Looking at the weather in this game, we're looking at mid-50s in this game, clear, wind kind of blowing left to right, so not too much to worry about there. The thing that I think helps Porcello in this spot is he's going to see quite a bit of righties. I think Adam Frazier, Polanco, maybe Jaso cracks the opening day lineup.
I think Jaso will crack it with the DH, you would think. Or they said Polanco's DHing. Wait a minute. So how did they make that work? Jaso at first. I guess Frazier's in the outfield?
Yeah.
Frazier's in left?
Yeah, I would think so, because Free's going to have to play third.
Jason's
They're not going to have Harrison in the outfield.
Right.
Harrison to be at second.
I guess Harrison could play left. I guess. That's possible.
Yeah, so we'll kind of have to see how this lineup shapes out, but if it's a right-handed heavy lineup, Porcello, big ground ball rate to righties last season, so definitely like that. Really good against lefties too, so don't be scared. His hard contact rate was much higher against lefties last season, so in a game that is featuring a 9 total, you already mentioned highest total on the slates. I think Porcello goes overlooked here.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a fair. I think I love the play. I just think, like, you look at Marte, McCutchen, Freese, Cervelli, Harrison, Mercer, like, they're competent, but there's also a sneaky amount of Ks in that lineup. Like Cervelli, Harrison, Mercer, Freese, they can all strike out. So I think it's definitely boom bust. It's definitely a tournament play, but if Porcello can get you to 7 or 8 Ks at this 9.8 price tag and give up only 2 runs, I think you take that.
I think the biggest thing to note as well, looking at last season stats, we're going to be referencing last season stats for the first month of the season. Looking at the Pirates' active roster, you want to guess how many people had an ISO over 200 against right-handed pitching last season?
2?
1.
Just
exactly 200. Polanco had exactly a 200 ISO against right-handed pitching. So I think the downside here, is kind of okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's Fenway; it can happen, but I just,
well, of course,
I think this is Rick Porcello still is not getting the respect he deserves. Like, he didn't get it last year, and towards the end of the year, people started rostering him, and now everyone's like, "Oh, it's a new year; he's going to regress." It doesn't work like that. Like, that's not how pitching works. So for me, I'm going to hop back on Porcello until he shows me signs of not being the Cy Young Award winner from last year.
We used him a lot last year. I remember talking about him on the podcast a lot. Everybody's just kind of expected him to regress, and he just never did.
Yeah. Can we talk about the bats? Because I'm really excited to talk about a stack, and I have a feeling you're going to like it too.
All right, well, let's talk about Pittsburgh first. I just kind of got done going over the ISO on these guys. I think my interest here is Polanco as a one-off. And if they bat Adam Frazier as a leadoff spot, he's like 3.3 over there on DK, second base eligible.
You want to know what his price on FanDuel is?
Is it min?
2.1K, and he's a shortstop.
Oh, so even better. So, if Frazier bats leadoff here and he's at that price, I could see playing him as a one-off.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with you. I wouldn't roster anyone else. And Polanco's dealing with a shoulder, too. Like, he's DHing for a reason.
So even better. So I might be just looking at Frazier here. Just good salary, bat and leadoff on the road. Leadoff hitters on the road. I always like that potential for that fit that bat.
Yeah, and it's a good hitter's ballpark.
It is a good hitter's ballpark. All right, let's talk Red Sox. 2 through 5 or 2 through 6?
No, I actually don't. So first of all, this projected lineup on Roto Grinders is wrong. Xander's batting 6th. Why does anyone not accept this fact? Like, I'm pretty sure on Saturday he once again batted 5th or 6th. Like, why does everyone not believe this is actually going to happen? Like, there was a report out there, like, the first week of spring training that said that, like, oh, we're going to bat Xander 6th and we're going to start running him all the time. And, everybody, like, laughed it off because it was spring training, right? He was batting 3rd. No one thought anything of it. Well, of course, now we're getting towards the top of the regular season. And if I pull up the spring training box scores and that, that series they played in Washington – right before the season start, he batted 6th. The lineup was Pedroia, Benintendi, Betts, Hanley, Sandoval, Bogarts. Like, it's going to be the same thing. Like, the lineup is not going to change. It's the same thing. So for me, I think you're going to clearly see Xander batting 6th, and he's going to run more this year. And I'm going to roster Xander until people understand that this is going to be a 2020 guy this year, maybe 25-20. Like, he's not priced like it, and I'm just going to keep rostering him until the sites realize what he's going to be this year.
All right. I'm not going to argue with you. I like him a lot. When he, what was it, 2 years ago when they were moving him around at shortstop and third base, he looked awful. I think that just had a lot to do with him moving around in the field. He was focusing on that. Came off of a really good season last year. As far as shortstops go, I like the Red Sox here. Obviously, they have the highest implied team total. Like, I like the Red Sox. You're not going to tell me anybody on the Red Sox that I'm not going to be interested in here.
I like the bottom of the order stack more than I like the top. We talked about Garrett Cole's struggles with lefties. The bottom's kind of stacked. Whether they start Moreland or Bradley 5th, you're going to have Bradley, Bogarts, Moreland, Sandoval, Leon. That's a really – you can get some cheap Sandy Leon, cheap Sandoval at the bottom of that order. I think that's a really sneaky stack. You can stack up all those left-handed bats.
Okay, I can get behind that. You look at Garrett Cole's stats against righties, like much better against righties, 285 WOBA, only a 25% hard contact rate. The thing that kind of stands out to me here is only a 16% strikeout rate. So I don't think you're going to see Garrett Cole go out and blow the ball by these guys. So I don't mind a Mookie Betts. Man, I like Benintendi. He's so cheap. We're going to see this guy 3.5K by the end of this month.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's just way too cheap over there on FanDuel. DraftKings did a good job. They priced him up. I don't think on DraftKings I can even roster him at that price. Like 3.7 is just I don't know if I can pull that trigger.
Speak for yourself, my friend. Speak for yourself.
You're going to go there?
Yeah.
I just Mitch Moreland is 3.3. I just can't. Maybe it's my love of Mitch Moreland in Fenway Park, but I just can't imagine playing Nintendo over Moreland. But
the kind of sneaky play here too is Jackie Bradley Jr. 261
Yes.
ISO, 38% hard contact rate against righties last season. Hits fastballs well. We're gonna see a lot of fastballs from Garrett Cole. Like I think Bradley is the kind of sleeper here that you're looking for.
Absolutely. You know, if I'm going to try to pull this up really quickly here. Okay, I remember how do you spell Garrett? How do you spell Garrett Cole? Is it one R?
Gerrit.
Aha, it's the E. That was my problem. I'm trying to pull up his pitch selection versus left-handed batters, and he throws 60% fastballs against lefties. And you look at Jackie Bradley against right-handed pitching, fastballs, 523 slugging last year. Average velocity, 93 miles an hour. That's very solid.
I'm right on the money. I don't need your super stats here.
Hey, you know, some stats never hurt anybody, right?
Stats never hurt anyone. I agree with you. Let's move on. We confessed our love for the Red Sox enough. Looking at one of my favorite
homers, though. We're not homers.
Looking at one of my favorite games on the slate, we got Colorado going into Milwaukee. It's supposed to rain all day here. Hey, they have a roof. Don't worry about it. John Gray, Guerrera here. We'll start with John Gray on the road. John Gray, if you guys are coming back from listening to the baseball podcast last year, I started hyping this guy in his second start and rode him into the entire season. He made me so much money last year. I love John Gray. I love him in the spot. I think he's a great tournament player.
Yeah, I think it's definitely just a tournament play. Like this
Don't play
line,
cash.
This line screams John Gray is a trap. It screams it. But I just don't care. Just knowing that it's Milwaukee and like this is a game that I think has polar outcomes. And we were talking about this pre-show. Like I think either John Gray goes out here and dominates or John Gray gets absolutely lit up. I don't see much of a middle ground against this power speed type K team. Like I think you're going to see a lot of spots this year where they're either going to strike out 15 times or they're going to go hit 5 home runs.
Yeah, Gray coming off of a season. It was phenomenal what this kid did when he got called up. He pitched 168 innings, 12.1 swinging strike rate, just phenomenal. 12% swinging strike rate is phenomenal. Looking at the Brewers lineup, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 active starters with over a 20% strikeout rate. This is a boomer bust team. You look at the ISOs, they're all really high. You look at the strikeout rates, they're all really high. CJ's right on the head with this. This is going to be either a John Gray goes out and K a lot or John Gray goes out and gives up a lot of home runs. So
and stolen bases too. This Milwaukee team's going to run.
They are going to run. I don't have any interest in Junior Guerrera here.
Zero. None.
Young kid, live arm. I love the Colorado bats. Let's talk about the Rockies bats here. You know, when we look at who's going to be popular on this slate, we talked about Washington. And when you go through the pricing, especially on FanDuel, Blackmon is right around Harper. Trevor Story is right around Trey Turner. Cargo is, I think he was around somebody as well. Like, this is the stack pivot of the day. Like, I'm going to stack the Rockies and pivot off the Nationals.
the ownership of this team all depends on what the weather in Cincinnati looks like. Because if anyone, let's say, Locke is at 1 o'clock and then the weather in Philly takes a poor turn, or in Cincy takes a poor turn, I think everyone's going to pivot right back to Colorado. So I don't know if this stag is going to be quite as sneaky as I want it to be. Maybe we get lucky and people will just wait it out an extra hour and pivot to Baltimore, which I think is really trappy. For me, though, I'm agree with you. I'm all about this Colorado stack against Milwaukee. I'm definitely a homer in this spot. 2 years ago, I won 3 GPPs stacking up the Rockies in Milwaukee opening day. I think Junior Guerrero is slightly better than Kyle Loesch was at that point, but it's not too far off. And this lineup is stacked 1 through 8. I have no problem rostering any of them.
Yeah, just Trevor Story, one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate. 290 ISO with a 39.7% hard contact rate against righties last season. Came back from injury and 3 home runs, 3 doubles, crushing the ball in spring training. I'm not worried about that injury at all. Do you remember the storybook beginning of the season? I do, CJ. Do you?
I do. I remember I faded, and it was a very poor first week for Siege.
I love it. I love Story here. Love Blackman. I love the Rockies. The top of the order. Once you get past Story and you get down to Parra and Reynolds, that's kind of where I'm gonna lower my interest.
Sure, but I still have it. Anytime I can get a punt lefty catcher that is going to bat 8th, can draw some walks, can get some. Like, he has speed. He stole some bases for me. He won me a Q. Was that last year, I think, or 2 years ago? He won me a Q by stealing some bases. So it was last year. It's the Playboy Mansion. So yeah, I don't hate. I'm not saying like I'm actively seeking to roster Tony Wolters, but I wouldn't just like. If you're building a stack and you kind of need one guy to make something else work, I wouldn't just be like, oh, I can't roster him.
Opening day is the best day of the season to punt catcher. Just saying. There's nobody to pay up for in catcher.
No.
That's kind of it for my love for the Rockies. Looking at the Brewers, we kind of talked about this when we were talking to John Gray. See 2 different outcomes here. I'm not going to try to one-off these guys. I'm going to either stack the Brewers or play John Gray on some tournament teams.
Yep, and Eric Thames on FanDuel, I think, is the world's best pivot off of Tommy Joseph, who's been touted by, I think, just about everyone in the world at this point.
Wow.
I love that pivot. 2.2K, batting cleanup for that Brewers team and tournament teams where you're not playing John Gray. I love that pivot.
Thames is a big power prospect. He's going to strike out a ton, but he's going to hit a bunch of home runs too. I saw prospect numbers.
We need to stop saying that they're going to hit a lot of home runs and strike out. Let's just get this out clear. Like, anytime we talk about a Milwaukee guy that's not named Jonathan VR, they're either going to strike out or home run a lot.
Well, maybe Broxton.
That guy strikes out all the time.
I didn't help my argument. I named the one guy that had
Broxton. No.
I named the one guy that has a 35% strikeout rate against righties last season.
And, it's our rust is clearly a little rusty there, Stevie.
Shake it off.
Oh, man. Like Travis Shaw might be in the top 3 in terms of lowest strikeout rate. And as Red Sox fans, we know that can't be good.
It's 24%.
This is such a boom-bust spot. I'm going to have so much exposure either way on this game. I can't imagine taking a stand in this spot because the Vegas line is telling me that Milwaukee's going to score some runs here and they're going to go off. But we know in this scenario that John Gray can just go throw a gem.
No, I agree with that. All right, moving on. Toronto at Baltimore in this game, 8.5 total. Weather-wise, it's looking pretty good as far as rain and stuff. Wind blowing out to left field at 14 miles an hour right now. You said that you think it's a trappy spot. Let's talk Marco Estrada on the side here for the Blue Jays. The one thing about Estrada that kind of stands out to me, doesn't give up a lot of hard contact, but he gives up a ton of fly balls. Massive fly ball pitcher. So tell me why you think this is going to be a trap, and tell me why you're maybe looking at Estrada.
No, definitely not looking at Estrada, and I wasn't aware the wind was so strong on the left at Baltimore. That's kind of a red flag now.
Yeah,
that's like the exact opposite of what I would want to fade. But, I mean, you look at Estrada's career's numbers against Baltimore, and he's got good numbers against everyone, basically, who's not named Wellington Castillo. I've done this before, where I rostered Baltimore against Toronto. I find a reason to do it, and Estrada goes out there and gives up 2 solo home runs and pitches 7 quality innings, and I'm looking back at my stack going, why the hell did I do this for the 19th time in a row?
It's opening day, though, right? We got to take a shot. Like, look at Estrada's numbers against righties last season. 82 innings, 293 WOBA, which just scares some people off, but 36% hard contact rate, 1.329 home run per 9, with a 49% fly ball rate. Like, with the wind blowing out the left, like, I feel like we got to look at some of these righties here.
I get it. I just have been burned by this train so many times. And it's not like the Skydome or Camden Yards or bad pitchers parks. Like,
No, they're not.
It's not like this guy has been pitching, in Safeco, and the BVP is a little inflated. It's all hitters parks. Like, let me try to use a 2-year sample, see if I can come up with like anything to talk me onto this stack. No, it's just as bad. Like 600 at bats over the last 2 years, and it's completely nothing. I think it's a trap.
All right, looking at the other side, Kevin Gossman here. So I'll make this simple. If the Blue Jays roll out their right-handed heavy lineup, do not even think about Gossman here. Reverse splits pitcher, 349 WOBA against righties last season. This would not be a good spot for him. He gave up 17 home runs in 93 innings to right-handed bats last season.
No, you play the Blue Jays if they rolled out the right-handed heavy lineup.
Yeah, we talked about a couple spots already. All right, let's talk Blue Jays bats. Devin Travis, if he bats leadoff, I think he's really interesting. Donaldson. Baptista, the one guy that I'm looking at here, and I sent you a message on Twitter the other day, I like Morales in this game as a tournament option. What do you think his ownership is going to be here?
Batting cleanup on a Toronto stack, 5%.
Oh, God, I hope so. Oh, man.
I mean, we have so many good first basemen on the slate. Actually, if that Cincy game gets rained out, I guess first base takes a kind of a big hit there because Tommy Joseph's going to get a lot of ownership, and so will Joey Votto. You'll still have Gonzo, I guess.
What's the price on FanDuel difference? Like, is Morales expensive there? He's expensive on TK. It's 4.1K. Nobody's going to play him on DraftKings. You said 5%. I'm thinking like 3%.
I was looking at FanDuel where he's 2.9.
Oh, God. I'm going to have so much Morales.
Oh, at 4 point whatever, though, he'll be like 2. He's batting cleanup the one on Toronto stack. Like, that's a spot where people will throw him in there and ignore the price. It really comes down to what happens in that Cincy game, like what the weather looks like. Because, Votto and Joseph might be 1-2 in terms of first base ownership on the slate.
We're going to talk about that Cincy game here in a minute. Do you like any one-offs here, or are you just going to stack the Jays?
Well, if that weather in the Philly-Reds game kind of looks shaky, suddenly a Kendrys Morales one-off doesn't look like the worst thing on the planet.
Telling you, man, jump aboard.
I mean, you look at the first baseman on the slate, right? If you take out that game, it's Justin Bour, Ryan Zimmerman, Freddie Freeman, who doesn't he own Noah?
I can pull it up real quick. I have it pulled
up. Freddie, Lucas Duda, John Jaso, Mitch Moreland, Mark Reynolds, Eric Thames, and then you kind of look. We talked about the guys in this Toronto-Baltimore game: Chris Davis and Kendrys Morales, and then you kind of have Hosmer, Joe Mauer, and Gonzo. Like, first base is really, really, really weak. I guess you could talk about Miggy too, but it's really a weak position if that game gets rained out or has the risk of rain.
Jump aboard, CJ.
I'm on board.
Oh, Morales. When I was researching the slate, Morales stood out to me so much. This guy has a 42% hard contact rate against right-handed pitching last season. Like, the ballpark shift from Kansas City to Toronto is, I know this game is not in Toronto, but even into Baltimore, like, yes, please. Guy's such a sleeper this season. Such a sleeper. I was listening to the Statcast podcast Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it came out, and they were talking about like how many balls he would have hit out of every other ballpark except for Kansas City last year. So I'm telling you, Morales is a guy to watch this year.
I hope you're right, because I'm going to be on this. I'm going to be on this train.
I'm on it. We talked about Marco Estrada's struggles against righties. I think you can definitely look at Machado, Trumbo. I don't know what to do with the lefties. That's my problem. Like, he did give up home runs to lefty.
And they're kind of just at all the wrong spots in the lineup. They're kind of just like sprinkled like right in the bad spots. Like, it's tough to build a stack with Machado and Trumbo without snagging a lefty or two. And you really can't, unless you want to just kind of go Trumbo, Scope, Castillo, which I guess you could do. But it feels like a bad spot. It's a weird spot. I just don't see myself going here.
I'm definitely going to have at least one Baltimore stack. It would probably be Jones, Machado, Davis, Trumbo. I would just put in. Well, you just got done talking about like how weak first base is. Like, if this game and Cincy like has weather.
If he's a bad play and has going to be inflated ownership, like that's a spot where you can be disciplined and stay away.
Yeah, but he's also a guy that can hit 2 home runs.
Oh yeah, but if that happens, you're not going to win, and then you move on to the next slate. You get 200 of them.
Do you realize Trumbo had a 300 ISO against right-handed pitching last season? He had 37 home runs against righties. It's just insane.
Stop trying to convince me for like the 50th time to stack Baltimore against Estrada. This has not worked in our history. Why are we going to try to keep doing this?
I'm just saying.
We've tried this so many times, and we've failed so many times.
Did you realize it was that high, though? I did not realize Trumbo had a 300 ISO against right-handed pitching last year. I didn't realize it was that high.
It was really high. I remember using that as one of the reasons why I stacked him against Joe Musgrove when I was all in on Musgrove, and I was just like, well, just in case this goes poorly, I'm going to build a Baltimore stack. I think you get up like 10 runs in 3 innings or something like that. So I noticed it, but that's a bit higher than I remembered.
Yeah, that's high. All right, Philadelphia, Cincinnati. We have chances of thunderstorms in the 40 to 70% throughout the day here. I already know that Kevin Roth is going to have a post up in the morning. We're not weather people. We're going to break down this game like it's not going to rain. So pitching in this game, I know you want to talk about one pitcher in this game. Go for it.
I know. Jeremy Hellickson is my boy. This is a good spot for him. This is a Cincinnati team that just strikes out a ton, and they're still going to strike out a ton this year. Hellickson has good success against this team in the past, limited sample size, but it's looked really good, and it makes sense. He has an arsenal that can kind of confuse a young, undisciplined team. I really like this spot for Hellickson as a DPP flyer. That being said, I will not play him at like even a hint of weather. Like, he's not good enough for me to be taking on any sort of risks like that. But for me, it just comes down to he's got such a swing and high strike rate on that slider, and it's just I just know that this team cannot handle that, and the lefties can't handle a changeup. So I really like this spot for Hellickson a lot.
Well, the thing is too, like, he's good against right-handed bats. Like, and when we look at the lineup, Billy Hamilton is a guy that if he gets on base, he'll run, which always scares you. Joey Votto's the bat that you're just really worried about here. Scott Schebler shows power every once in a while. Like, the strikeout rate, the ownership for the Reds, and the ownership for Hellickson, if we get word that we're going to have a window to play some baseball here, CJ, I'm with you, my friend. I'm with you.
It's just like you look at the lefties in this lineup, right? The guys you're worried about, right? Billy Hamilton, Schebler, and those are the two you're worried about, right? Billy Hamilton had a 42% whiff rate against changeups to go with Jeremy Hellickson's 40% swing and strike rate against changeups. And if we look at Schebler, it's not much better. He had a 30% whiff rate against the changeup. So if they can't hit his best off-speed pitch, and then he's good against the righties, I know it's a hitter's park, but talk about an amazing upside GPP dart, and he's priced like a punt.
Yeah. And then you look at the other side of this game, too. Where Feldman struggles is against lefties.
You're not suggesting Scott Feldman. Like,
no, I'm not suggesting Feldman. I'm just saying, like, this isn't a spot that you just, like, blindly stack this game. It's not as good as it looks. If this game was in any other ballpark outside of Cincinnati, you know, one of the shortest ballparks in the league, if not the shortest, I can't remember. Like, it wouldn't be a spot that you'd be targeting. So realistically, for me, I'm going to have some one-offs of Sanders, and I'm going to have some one-offs of Herrera. And I honestly might fade Tommy Joseph.
I could see a Hernandez, Carrera, Franco, Saunders stack. Get the 3 lefties in there with Franco. That one I could justify. I can't justify any of the others, to be honest.
Do you understand? Like, I just don't understand the Tommy Joseph love.
It's just the price.
Ballpark, sure.
I think it's just the price.
It
I think
has
people
to
just
be.
see like a guy. It's a guy that everyone rostered last year at 2.1 in good spots at home, and they kind of, remember the name, and it's just like, I just think it's one of those plays that was like, oh, he was underpriced last year, and oh, look, he's still underpriced. But if you look at Scott Feldman, he's kind of a control guy, but he throws a lot of sinkers and cutters. And you look at Tommy Joseph and doesn't do anything against the cutter. Like, he had a whiff percentage of 33% last year against the cutter, and basically the same thing against the sinker. So it's looking here and it's like, what's the point? Like, I don't understand what the upside here is. Like, I guess he had a little more success against the sinker, but even against a fastball sinker, he was bad. I don't see it.
All right, so if I don't tell you a name and I tell you an ERA was 4.44 and the xFIP was 3.86, 47% ground ball rate, 299 WOBA, only a 29% hard contact rate, like, you're not going to really want to attack that too much. And then you realize, like, it's Scott Feldman against righties.
This is such a good fade. Like, I want this game to play.
I do too.
I want sunshine. Like, I don't have any interest here. None.
My daughter has a song like, "Hey, Mr. Sun, come out and play." So, honestly, we kind of talked about the bats that in this game as well as we were talking about the pitching. You have any final thoughts here on the bats?
No, I think we can kind of move on. I mean, I just don't. I'm not rostering a Cincinnati bat, and I'm probably building like that one stack for Philly, and that's kind of it.
All right, one of the most ridiculous lines of the slate, and it just this line just pisses me off. It really does. Danny Duffy, Irvin Santana, 8 total here. Irvin Santana favored in this game over Danny Duffy. It makes me mad.
It makes me interested in the twin stack, but it's unfortunate they demoted Kenneth Vargas, who would have been one of the better options on that stack today to AAA, which is kind of tough because I kind of like that right-handed heavy stack, and now I look at it and it's just not – I don't see the power outside of Dozier and Sano for me, or even, I guess, Buxton too, to like make it worthwhile. But, they have a run total over 4, and like, you wouldn't think Santana should be favored over Duffy. So the first thing I'm thinking is let's stack up the Twins. But
all right, so I got an interesting little tidbit here. Duffy, one of the guys that I wrote up this week. So I have a little information for you. So beginning of the season, we're not really looking for guys to go 7-8 innings, right? Danny Duffy in 2016 had a 27.8% strikeout rate first time through the order with a 228 average against. And then his strikeout rate was, I think, 24% the second time through with a 226 average against. The third time is when he was getting mashed. We don't have to worry about that this early in the season. Telling you, the Duffmeister, baby.
The problem is Brian Dozier just crushes his whole arsenal.
Of course he does. Dozier masses lefties. You don't have to, that's...
And then I look at Buxton. And if I look at Buxton, it's going to be kind of the same thing.
Don't try to talk me off the Duff. Don't try to talk me off the Duffster.
It's the Twins against the lefty, man. I'm going to be on the Twins. I'm going to be on the Twins.
it's not the same Twins against the lefty lineup. They don't have Vargas. Trevor Plouffe is gone.
But they have Dozier, Buxton, Sano. How much more do I need?
Yeah, I know, but you have Maurer there for the double play to get out of the inning.
Buxton better steal second first. That's the problem. I just need him to steal second before Maurer hits that ground ball to the right side.
It's just like, look at the Twins' strikeout rates against lefty. Grossman, 20%. Dozier, 21. Polanco, 25. Sano, 34. Buxton, 33. Kepler. If Kepler bats fifth, 25%. With a 262 WOBA and 2 home runs.
I'm building a twin stack. I'm not rostering Duffy. I get it. I understand your points. I'm just not going there.
Fair enough. No love for Irvin Santana, right? Don't say yes.
This line, though, is this line telling us we should?
No, it's not. Don't do that.
Let's see. Is there any good BVP here?
Like what realistically, what would you like about Santana here? He's facing a team that doesn't strike out.
Yeah, he doesn't.
They're getting the Moose Tacos back, which gives them another bat in the beginning of the order.
20% strikeout rate in his career against the team. Yeah, it's something special, I guess. Yeah, I guess I don't really want to roster Irvin Santana, so I guess I won't.
All right. Royals bats, anything that you like here?
Eric Hosmer is a one-off. We talked about how bad first base kind of is, and he's got good numbers against his profile and against him BVP-wise.
Moose Tacos is really cheap, too. I think he's like 2.5K.
No, you're not playing Moose Tacos at third base. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
The third base is loaded on this slate.
Third base is loaded on the slate. I might actually roll out a little Royals stack.
Don't do that.
It really
you can't
depends.
roster 10% of everyone, Stevie. I know it's opening day and you want to get a little bit of everybody, but you got to be disciplined. This is about to be disciplined. It's a huge ballpark in the cold place. Like, why? This park plays much smaller in the summer. It's April. There's no reason for us to stack this game at all. None.
Oh, there's a lot of rain chance there, too. We didn't mention that.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Didn't either. 50% chance all afternoon.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. It's one of those that gets worse as the day goes on. But the wind's blowing in. So it's like, again, why would you stack this spot? Pass.
Everything I just said about this game. Just moving on. I've been pulling up the weather before we start every game. All right, Chacin against Kershaw, LA Dodgers. Kershaw's pitching. If you're playing cash games, hey, Kershaw should be in your lineup.
Right. I just don't know if you have to pay that price in tournaments.
What's his upside?
7 innings, 9 Ks.
0
I guess 7 innings. I guess 7 innings, 11 Ks. I think that's the upside.
Yeah, but if he does that, then you might need him.
Yeah, but that's the ceiling, right? In June, if I ask you what's Clayton Kershaw's ceiling, you're saying 9 innings, 17 Ks.
At the same price.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're losing a lot of the best outcomes, and we still have the risk of the bad outcomes.
There's definitely no way I'm fading Kershaw.
No, I'm not saying a complete fade, unless you're building one team. But I think you can go underweight on the field here.
I can understand that.
It's just the price. The price is so absurd.
This is where we really want that Reds game to play Hellickson with Kershaw.
But everyone's going to here's the thing that everyone's going to do, right? So the pricing on that Cincy game is too cheap, and everyone's going to play Kershaw, Cincy bats, and some punts. That's going to be the de facto roster if you're rostering Kershaw. Or you're going to roster Reds, you're going to roster some Dodgers. I know it's Clayton Kershaw, but we could be I just feel like it's so irresponsible of us to just be like, hey, with 19,000 studs on the mound who are all priced down, let's play the guy who won't throw over 100 pitches or much of over 100 in this start. Just because his name is Clayton Kershaw and we know what he's going to do in June. I feel like we're paying for the summer performance in April, and it doesn't make sense to me. As silly as fading Kershaw always sounds to me when I open my mouth, but it feels responsible to fade him here.
So, do you want to guess his opening day against San Diego last year?
7 innings, 9 Ks. I've already looked at it because I looked for the pitch count.
What was
it? Was like 94. 94?
Yeah. I just see 23 batters faced.
Yeah. He that was the ceiling. That's why when you asked me what the ceiling was, I had a pretty good guess.
You know, to start the season last year, 11 straight games with at least 7 innings pitched.
Yeah, but how many times was he going 8 or 9? When did he start going 8 or 9?
You don't want to know that question.
Was it the second start of the season?
Second start of the season.
Okay. Great. Didn't he get hurt right after that, though? Or was that 2 years ago he got hurt in April?
No, he hurt his back later in the season last year.
I swear he got hurt in April one of these years. It must have been 2 years ago. I get it. I understand why you want to play Clayton Kershaw, and I'm not saying I'm not going to play him. I just think that you can be responsible here. Like, I think if you want to fade, it's probably the most responsible it is all season.
Agreed with that.
He's not throwing 120 pitches tonight. I mean, whatever his outcome range is, there's no 120 plus start in the range.
I know you don't play a lot of cash games. You play Kershaw and cash in the spot.
Yeah. We started this off by saying you play him in cash.
Yep.
And then we pivoted to tournaments. You play him in cash, period. End of conversation.
You know who you don't play?
Dodgers?
Chacin.
Oh, yeah, no, you don't play Chacin. He's bad.
Don't play Chacin. You're not taking any Padres bats here, right?
Hunter Renfroe at 2K. He's too talented to be 2K. I know it's Kershaw, but I could see myself
playing. I play a lot this year.
Me too, and I could see myself at least having a couple shares on opening day. Just because of the price. Makes one of us. 2K. I get it. I understand. I just to 2K. I can if it makes something else fit. I think there's enough upside between the Dodgers bullpen and Kershaw not being in full midseason form, but it is kind of just a way out there play.
God, I wish I could play Schimpf.
Yeah, you definitely can't do that.
Don't do that. All right, looking at the Dodgers bats here, Chacin terrible against lefties, 327 WOBA, 35% hard contact rate. The thing that stood out to me the most about Chacin against lefties last season, only a 13% strikeout rate. The Dodgers are going to put the ball in play in this game. They're going to be extremely popular. They're all underpriced. What are you doing with the Dodgers?
I want to fade the big ballpark.
It's really hard to fade them here.
Yeah, that it is. Like Tolles, if he leads off at 2K, is going to be like you plug in Kershaw, then you plug in Tolles and cash.
He's 2.9 on DK too, super cheap.
Yeah, like on both sites, and you might plug in Tolles first, right? Because it makes you feel better about clicking the Kershaw number after that.
And I'm perfectly okay with that.
No, I am too. I think Gonzo is too cheap on FanDuel. Like, it's just
Grandal's
I love all these guys in cash. I like basically the entire Dodgers lineup in cash. But when I look at the slate, like, how many times are the Dodgers going to be the highest scoring offense on the slate in terms of fantasy points, power, home run, doubles, steals? I'm not sure.
They have 3 power guys. Let's be honest. Gonzalez is not a power guy anymore.
If they have Seager, Turner, and Forsythe.
Get out of here. Sure. You dare talk about Grandal like that.
He's awful.
You are smoking dope.
He's so bad. Stop it.
He's not
He's
bad.
Like the most overowned player in history of DFS.
He has a 39% hard contact rate with a 260.
Yeah, it's all on the ground. What did he do?
He is a beast.
Oh, my God.
Do you remember Grandal week last year? Do you know how much money
I do remember Grandal week, and I rostered him because you kept talking about him, but he's still not good.
Remember we had this conversation?
Lucky doesn't mean it was a good play.
You can't play catchers on fantasy draft, and I played Grandal and he hit 3 home runs.
I remember that. I played him that day too because you were like so insistent, but it's just like you guys like literally had one good season his entire life. One.
That's all you need.
It was last year, and he's still batted 228.
Revenge game too. He played with the Padres.
He's the epitome of a GPP play. If you think the power is real.
You know, there's no such thing as a GPP and a cash catcher. You play home run catchers.
Yes. Yeah, but you can only play him in GPPs if you think last year's power is legitimate.
I like Grindal here. You don't have to like him.
I know you do. You like Grindal every day.
I do like Grindal. Every day a righty's on the mound.
I like Grindal back in 2012 when he came out as a rookie with the Padres. Like,
I did like him in 2012.
Yeah, see? What a shocker.
All right, that's it for this game. Let's move on. Detroit at Chicago. Pay attention to the weather in this game. It is really bad. Really, really bad. 70% chance of rain until I think 10 or 11 o'clock at night. If there's a game that's probably most likely to get rained out at this point of the day, it's this one. We're still going to break it down.
So that's really depressing because I love this game.
Yeah, it doesn't look good at all.
No, that's really depressing because I love this spot for Justin Verlander so much. And he was going to go
of course
so underowned.
I know, because of Syndergaard and because of Strasburg.
And the 4 o'clock start, and everybody wants to watch
right there with you, buddy. I was right there with you.
And then
if Roth comes on in the morning and says this game's good to go, love Verlander in the spot. I would take anything. I gotta be honest, I'll have GPP exposure at anything less than like orange yellow. Yellow orange, I'll probably roll out a well, that's because you got FanDuel late swap and DK late swap now.
Oh, that's right. I can late swap. But who am I going to late swap to?
Kershaw.
I could late swap to Danny Duffy.
Kershaw.
Or Hellickson. I can't late swap up to – I'm not going to have the 2K to late swap up to him.
Yeah, because you're going to have plenty of Dodgers bats. And
no, I'm not.
I know. I'm messing with you.
Yeah, I realistically would have to make the decision at 2.
3? You can make it at 2 to John Gray. Yeah.
2 to John Gray, I think, is where I'd have to make it.
Yeah.
Or like desperation, 4 o'clock to Hellickson, but then I'm going to have to load up on Dodgers bats.
Yeah.
I guess 3, because if I'm going to pivot to Hellickson, I got to load up on the Blue Jays. So probably 3.
But it gives you more time.
It should be canceled by then, right?
Yeah,
if they're going to cancel a 4 o'clock game, it'll be canceled by 3, right?
I would think it'd be canceled by 2.
Yeah, so I think we'll definitely have that information. But it's a good point, Stevie, that we have late swap now. I kind of would have forgotten about that. I got to be honest.
No Jose Quintana for me. No left-handed pitcher ever against the Tigers for me, ever. No chance.
God, there's so many like amazing like one-off GPP runes. Everyone lolls and goes, I can't believe player X hit a home run and a double and won a GPP. You can literally do that from like Mickey Matuk down. James McCann, we like James McCann. I understand that. I'm saying people in general would say that. Jacoby Jones, Jose Iglesias. Like if one of those guys goes off, people would be like, you got to be kidding me. I lost the slate because of Jacoby Jones going for 20 FanDuel points. You got to be kidding me.
All right, guess this player. Against right-handed pitching, 30% strikeout rate, 267 ISO, 47.5% hard contact rate.
Todd Frazier.
James McCann.
You said against right-handed pitching, you cheater.
Against left-handing, my bad. I failed. I just realized that.
You said right-handed pitcher, so I immediately ruled out James McCann.
Oh, man.
Cheater.
Oh, James McCann, Miguel Cabrera, Ian Kinsler, Justin Upton, and Castellanos. All these guys had over a 200 ISO against left-handed pitching last season.
God, Castellanos is going to bat second against lefties this year. I'm going to roster him so many times, Stevie. You have no idea. I rostered him all the time last year. If he starts batting second against lefties, oh boy, I'm in trouble.
Quintana's due for some regression too. I don't care what anybody says. It's coming.
I hope not. I have so much Quintana in season 1, so I hope you're wrong.
Well, I hope for your sake I'm right. Any bats from the White Sox against Verlander? Hard pass for me.
Pass.
All right, we have the 3-game late slate. We're going to go through these games a little bit quicker here.
This is the tilt slate, man. You have a bad early slate. You get to win it all back on the late slate. Come on now. Give the slate the respect it deserves.
Well, we're already at an hour, and there'll be plenty of Roto Grinder shows throughout the day. There's a Siege Tournament Tactics package. There's tons of stuff you can get for the late games.
Oh, yeah. I have to remember to put up the daily pass. The daily passes will be available in 20 seconds. As soon as I remember to flip it over. I forgot before we started, and I forgot.
Cleveland, Texas.
5 of you that freaking bought season-long packages after the deadline. All right, I guess I'll give you 5 minutes. If you're watching the show and want to get your season-long package, now's the time.
Yeah, so the 230 viewers watching us right now, jump on it. All right, Cleveland, Texas, Corey Kluber against Yu Darvish. Oh, buddy. 8 total, though. This game is in Texas.
This slate comes down to what you're going to do with pitching. And I think that
and by the way, really quick, didn't mean to interrupt you. The weather is great in all 3 of these games. That's why the totals are all so high.
Texas, Houston, and Oakland. Yeah, those are some good. Those you don't have to worry about weather in those spots. Boy, I really kind of like the Cleveland side in this spot. I kind of like Kluber, and I kind of like the Cleveland bats here.
80 degrees in Texas.
Stacking as Yu Darvish is one of my favorite things to do. I've had so much success with it.
Yeah, he's another guy that you either stack or we'll see.
Yeah, he's either going to have it and your team's going to strike out 14 times, or he's going to not have it and your team's going to hit 3 or 4 home runs against him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the slate. Probably have a couple of shares of Darvish. If I crush the morning slate, there's no chance I'll play the slate, by the way.
That's the worst take I've ever heard. You mean if you're running hot, you're not just going to fire a couple teams on the late slate?
I've spent so much time breaking down. I've spent so much time breaking down the early slate.
That's one of the that's alternative
Listen,
facts.
CJ, you know it's not true, okay? I'm playing the late slate. I just have
It's alternative facts. All right, good. As long as we're clear about this.
I like both pitchers in this game. I think they're both in play, and I'm definitely going to be looking at the bats. It's 80 degrees in Texas. The ball's going to be flying off the bats in this game.
Yeah, and Texas is really underpriced. Like you couldn't make it. I think you could play anyone on the entire Texas lineup at these prices on FanDuel. The most expensive hitter on FanDuel is 3.2K.
The cheapest player on DraftKings is 3.6.
Okay, then if you want to play Texas, you play it all on FanDuel.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
That's a great take, Steve.
Seattle at Houston, Felix Hernandez, Dallas Keuchel.
Mitch Haniger.
Nelson Cruz.
That's fine. Mitch Haniger will hit one first for 2K, and then Nelson Cruz will hit one right after that.
Gene Segura. I don't like either pitcher in this game, by the way.
No, I don't either. This is the stack 'em up game for me.
Well, I think you can stack up the late game too. I really just think I'm looking at Kluber, Darvish, and playing bats from this late 2 games here.
Completely agree.
Nelson Cruz against lefty. They have Danny Valencia now too.
I know, right? They're going to destroy left-handed pitching this year. And there's a bunch of bad ones in that division too.
Gene Segura, batting leadoff.
Yeah, there's so many right-handers in that lineup, and Cano and Seager can hit lefties too. And so can Martin. Stacking up Seattle against lefties is going to be a thing in a hitter's ballpark. I love the Seattle spot.
This isn't the Dallas Keuchel from a couple years ago either. Dallas Keuchel last season, 331 WOBA, 30% hard contact rate against righties. Still gets ground balls, but he gave up 18 home runs in 131 innings to righties. 1.23 home run per 9 against righties. Looking at the Houston side of things, isn't the BVP insane? Doesn't Houston own Felix?
Pretty sure they do. But I remember the one time he couldn't get out of the first and give up 9 against this team. Was that last year? I remember there was a spot where Felix went for -20 against this team.
Must have been different hitters because there's only 2 home runs here, Gaddis and Gonzalez.
It wasn't that long ago, was it?
They've hit him really well. They just didn't hit home runs against him. Beltran has a 500 average. Altuve has a 542 average. Correa has a 500. Marisnik has a 400. I'm definitely going to have Houston stacks in the late slate. It's going to happen. I'm going to stack Houston so much this year.
Yeah,
so, let me make that clear.
All right. Well, you want to move on to the late game? Because I actually think there's a sneaky GPP pitcher here.
You're going to say Nolasco?
I am going to say Nolasco.
Well, tell me why.
Well, because on DraftKings, you have to play 2 of these guys, and you really aren't been able to play Kluber and Darvish on every single team.
Yeah, and match.
He's the third. I mean, I guess you could play Kendall Graveman, but talk about a guy you're playing just purely for whip value. Please don't walk anyone, don't give up any hits. At least this Oakland lineup has the ability to strike out some. but it's actually kind of deeper than you think. So, it's not like a spot I'm desperately trying to play him, but it's a 3-game slate, and I have to roster 2 pitchers, and I'm probably going to throw a dart throw at one of these guys.
Probably going to have a little bit of both of them. Can't lie.
Yeah. Rajai Davis, though, leading off at 2.6K is too cheap. Or a 3-game slate. Too cheap.
All right. Let's talk Angels bats. Calhoun, Trout, Pujols, Crone. Moving on.
You can't play Matty Trout.
He's 5.3K on DK.
I was kidding. I was kidding, Stevie. I was kidding. We have videos, so I knew the viewers could see me kidding. You play Mike Trout if you can.
Do you?
April Fool's Day was yesterday, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. All right. Yeah, you can play Trout. Whatever.
Whatever. I guess he's only batting 333 against him.
I would rather play Nelson Cruz. Can't lie.
That's fine, but you have multiple outfield slots.
You do. Then I'd rather play Springer. I'm kidding. I would not play Springer over Trout. And now Springer's going to hit a home run. Oakland bats, you mentioned Rajai Davis. Chris Davis with a K. Very popular play on this podcast last year. Don't mind him here.
Yeah, that's fine by me. I got no complaints.
All right. I'm not playing anybody else from. They have Matt Joyce now. He's 2.4K on DK.
Please don't play Matt Joyce often. I don't want to lose my money to Matt Joyce. Like having to play him all the time. Please don't do it. Don't do it to me.
He's 2.4K on DK.
No, he's 2.4K on FanDuel. I guess we're going to start losing money on Matt Joyce early this year.
Kluber's only 10K and Darvish is only 9. Plug in Joyce.
Yeah, you can fit in whatever you want.
Damn it!
What do you like, 100 short?
No, I haven't tried, but
it's harder than it looks.
I already see. I just know that's gonna happen.
All right, that sounds good. Home run derby time.
Home run derby time. I don't think we got a home run.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, what were our picks from Friday that I don't remember making?
You took Gary Sanchez, Brandon Bell, and Pollock. Didn't Pollock homer?
Yeah, Pollock homered.
He did. I took Goldie, Chris Bryant, and Rizzo. They're still playing.
Well, so far nada for you. So Siege with a quick 1-up lead. So that means Stevie, you got the first pick.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna keep track as best as I can this year.
Yeah, you want me to keep track because your track record last year was so bad. Like even Scott Feldman would have gotten to start over you.
We have the Twitter account now. Twitter account's gonna help us out.
Oh, I hope so.
First overall pick. I wonder. It's opening day. Who am I gonna take for the first overall pick? Bryce Harper.
No.
Vito.
Yes.
I love going contrarian in this game, so I'm going to go Jackie Bradley Jr.
You dog. Really?
You didn't let me have Harper.
I thought for sure that was safe.
Yeah, after I just got done reading off, has power stats against righties and Cole's. Yeah, come on.
I believe that was like 10 games ago. I assumed you had forgotten.
I write stuff down in a baseball. Look, pen and paper.
All right, give me Nolan Arenado.
All right.
And give me Chris Davis with a K, baby. Let's get back on the winning ways from last year.
All right. I'm going to go Morales.
Yeah, I thought about taking him just so you couldn't have him, but I figured that'd be mean.
And
by the way, you should have said Matt Joyce has amazing BVP, by the way, just in case I wasn't going to already lose my money on Matt Joyce.
I think I made it very clear that you can play Darvish and Kluber with Matt Joyce and have enough money to do what you want.
Yeah, you made it quite clear, but just in case.
I'm going to go Blackman.
All right.
Opening day dong for the leadoff hitter.
All righty.
I really wanted Trumbo.
I'm going to take Story.
Yeah, I think I'm going to veto that. Just because I want him to hit a home run and I don't want to lose in the game when he hits his home run.
Okay, well, fine. Then I'm going to take Mark Trumbo and just completely. Actually, no, I'm not taking Mark Trumbo. No, I'm not doing that. Give me Josh Donaldson instead.
CJ, you realize when Trumbo hits a home run tomorrow, the first thing I'm doing is texting you.
That's fine. It's fine.
All right, we had 2 questions. What's the best cash GPP cash game strategy for DK?
Play Kershaw.
Yeah, really, honestly, your cash games, you want your pitcher points and you want guys that are going to get at bats. So top of the order guys, road guys that you know you're going to get 9 innings from. So
contact guys too.
Contact guys against pitchers with low strikeout rates. You want the ball in play. Yep,
absolutely.
It's not about, in tournaments we're targeting home runs. We're targeting hard contact rates against pitchers that give up hard contact rates. It's you still want home runs in cash games, but you want points. Taylor says, feeling slightly missed out at the Siege's facial expressions all NBA season.
Yeah, that's when I realized I kind of regretted doing this podcast in video form. But what the hell?
Yeah, there's always one time for everything. But we're going to get out of here. I hope everyone has a great opening day for the 250-ish people that hung out with us throughout the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we appreciate you. If you're listening to this in the morning, good luck in your contest. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.